Hi, everyone. I want to show you something really exciting today. And if you've been around me over the last few months, you've probably heard me talking about this. I want to show you how to build applications without having to know how to code. And I want to talk about the implications for people who work in the software development field for this to completely reshape how we do discovery and delivery. I know these tools aren't necessarily new to everyone, but the ideas of using them in our product discovery processes can be. I know I talked with some product friends earlier this week, and one of the things they said was a few people in their organizations know about these tools, but maybe not everyone. And they would love it if more people knew about it because they felt like it could really shape or reshape how we work together. And so if that's you, share this video with some folks, right? Send this out to anybody on your team who maybe just needs a taste of what's possible. And without further ado, I'm just going to dive in because I think the best thing to do is to show you what these tools are capable of. Up here, I have Lovable loaded on my browser. There are many other tools, Replit, Bolt, V0. Google has Firebase Studio now is what they call it. And this one is Lovable. It's what I've been using recently, so I'm going to use it. You could use the other ones. Most of them are pretty similar in terms of how they work, but they each have their strengths and weaknesses. With this one, essentially you see the app here. It has a text box and you're going to say, what do you want to build? And it's giving me examples in here. What I'm going to build today is a survey app that will ask you to take a survey about this video. So after this video is over, you'll be able to actually go out and play with this app and theoretically give me some feedback on what you learned. So the other thing that I'm doing, so I'm going to click here in this text box. The other thing that I've done on my computer is I've set up a tool called Whisperflow. There are other tools like it as well, but this one allows me to essentially just speak to the Mac and it will transcribe what I'm saying into this text box. I find that is a fun way to do it. You might call that vibe coding. You don't have to if you think that's weird, but I do find that it's a really useful way to interact with tools like this. So I'll actually show you how it works right now. I'd like to build an application that can allow people to take a survey to give me feedback on a YouTube video I'm making. Given quantitative questions so that I can pretty deeply understand how they feel about it. I'd like the questions to be learning oriented because I care mostly that they are taking away learning light bulb moments. I'd also like to be able to capture their name and email, although that can be optional because I don't want them to have to do that, but I would like to know who's filling it out if possible. A couple little special things in this. I'd like to be able to also plug a workshop I'm doing on vibe coding. So I'd like to be able to ask them if they would be interested in going deeper on what they learned in the YouTube video by taking the workshop. Outside of that, I also need to be able to have a dashboard so I can see some analytics. So be creative on that. I want a kind of a colorful, modern dashboard where I can also see deeply into some insights into how people are consuming my content. That was a lot, right? I just babbled at it. I love that I can do this. I just throw it in there and I hit go, and there we go. And so it's going to do some thinking as AI tools do. So it'll take it a couple of minutes here to create the first version. While it does that, I want to give you a rundown of some of what these tools can do because they're pretty powerful beyond just building the tool. And I think these things are the unlocks for why you'd want to use it in your process for real professional software development. The first one is that it integrates with GitHub. So I'm going to come up here in the corner and hover over this. This tool is going to build real working code. If I were to check it into GitHub, I could share that code with my developer friends. GitHub, if you don't know what it is, it's just a place to store your code, but it's a place to share it with others. They can pull it down, they can make changes to it, and they can put it back. So you can kind of share and collaborate on what you're building. So think about what this does if you're sitting in a product manager seat, for instance, and you want to build a prototype. And so here's the workflow that you could do. You could build the prototype in an hour. You could show it to some of your internal stakeholders to get some initial feedback. You could run it by some users and get some feedback. You could live change the application based on that feedback in minutes. And then you could turn to your developer friends and say, hey, would you mind checking this out and kind of stabilizing some of this code and maybe productionizing it a bit? And they could run with it. And they could check it back in. And you could see the changes back in Lovable. So imagine what that could do to the cycle times on getting from an idea that's in my head to something validated I want to build to something in the hands of developers on my team to production. If you build prototypes today without tools like this, it wouldn't be uncommon for it to take weeks, maybe even sometimes a month or more to build a prototype. And that prototype then is fixed. So you're going to have to get some feedback. And then if you want to change it, you're going to have to put it back through your development team while they update those prototypes. No more. Okay, so that's the first thing. And we'll actually show you how to do that in a bit. The next thing I want you to know is that this tool can integrate with some other tools that you might be familiar with, like Figma. So for a lot of you, most of you, I would imagine, someone on your team for some of your projects is designing screens in Figma. You can connect Figma directly to this and it will build its user interface based on what it sees in Figma. The one I'm doing right now is just dreaming it up. And so we're just going to see what we get. But if we wanted something more specific, we could give it Figma screens and it could build from that. Some other capabilities you should know about: you can set up a database and save things, which we're going to need to do in this app. What's cool about that is I also don't have to know how to set up a database. I can just essentially, in a little bit, I'll click this green button and then it'll do the rest of the work for me. It can do logins and authentications, register new users. It can do Stripe payments, so you could take payments with your applications that you build. It can do almost anything you can imagine. And so it gets really exciting when you start thinking about, okay, sure, it can build fun little apps on the side, but when you think about, oh, I could build real prototypes for my real products, I could check it into GitHub, and we could use that as the base for interacting with stakeholders, interacting with developers, and for iterating on ideas really fast, right? So I don't know if you heard the little bloop, but it's finished. And so it's going to try to load the app here. And so this does happen sometimes. So here's what's neat about it. Sometimes, just like a developer, it'll build this whole application and then it'll have an error. And that's okay. It has a coding error. All you have to do is say, please fix it. And it'll generally go off and fix it. So let's see how it does. All right. And at long last, it has created my form here. So it fixed the issue. I actually had to click it a couple times. That happens. But here we go. So it created this survey. It created both a survey and an analytics tab. And as I say, because it's using its own imagination here, like I kind of just get to discover this along with you. So it has an about you section, an overall experience section, learning insights, which I had mentioned that I wanted to know. Anything confusing or unclear? That's nice. Are you interested in a vibe coding workshop to go deeper? Good, it got that. And then final thoughts. How likely are you to recommend? That's cool. So I could fill all that out, and then I think it might even generate some sample data. Yeah, it did. So here's a dashboard. It's giving me some sample data of average rating and PS score. Kind of neat, right? So I like this, but it does look a little busy when I first look at it. So when it first loaded, I was kind of like, a little bit busy. So I think I might want to somehow tone this down. So I'm going to give it some instructions about that. So we'll do a little bit of edits. And this is pretty normal. First time you see it, you're going to say, okay, I see, but maybe I would change a couple of things. So how about, let's do this. Let's ask it to, I like the forms you made, but it's a lot of information on one page. Let's put them in tiles and paginate each section so that these can consume it one at a time. Right? So I just told it to do that. Go ahead and enter, and we'll let it go. All right, so finish that up. It completely refactored it. So you notice now we have a 5-page, and it actually went far enough to say, hey, 20% complete. So let's kind of take this and see what it looks like. Neat. I won't put that in. Which video or topic? Oh, that's interesting. I didn't ask it to do that part. I'll probably ask it to remove that. But video feedback. Experience. So here's another tidbit. Like, I don't love that the questions are not standing out from the answer. I think that's one of the things that's making it hard for me to follow with my eyes. So let's go ahead and have it change that. So I'm going to have it do 2 things. Actually, I'm going to have it do 3 things. So usually you wanted to give it 1 thing at a time. We'll see how it does with 3. How about that? So I like where we're headed. Let's refine these forms a little bit. On the first page of the survey, it asks for which video are you viewing. There will only be one, so let's just remove that question from the survey. Another change I'd like to make is on some of the forms, I think it's hard for my eye to scan the form when the text of the answers or the selections that can be made is the same like font and weight as the label for it. So I think I'd prefer it if maybe they were set off differently, maybe bold the labels, but use your best judgment. One other thing, I have a style guide that I've used for my website. It includes some things like colors and general tone and things. I'm going to paste that in, and I'd like for you to restyle the site based on what you see in that style guide. So again, you can tell I'm just rambling at it. The style guide is a markdown file that I've kind of worked on over the past couple of months just to figure out my colors and styles and that kind of stuff that I like to have with anything I'm doing with my business. So we'll see how well it is able to interpret that, but I just copied and pasted it in here. So hopefully what that'll do is clean up the questions a little bit and then sharpen based on my user style guide or my business style guide. Okay, it seemed to finish, and I'm already kind of pretty happy with what it did. So it's using my green colors that kind of lean towards the organic feel of my website for Renew Work. But then yeah, it took the question off that I asked. So we'll just do my name. Let's see how it looks going forward. And then yeah, now that this is more offsets, this doesn't look so bad now. Before it was just messy in my mind. So we'll just kind of fill this out. Looks like it makes me fill out each question in order to hit next. I could enter some text here about my learning. 1, 2. I have to at least enter 1. Am I interested in the vibe coding workshop? Yes. I might want to do something here where if they click yes, I ask them for their email address or something to follow up. In fact, I think I'll do that while I click through. I really like where we're going. On the want to go deeper section where we ask if they're interested in the vibe coding workshop, if they check the box, let's ask them for their email address right there in line so that I can get back with them on the details for the workshop. And so I'm going to go ahead and just submit that. I can keep using the app while it's working. Just kind of just go through the rest of this. Oh, it took me back to the beginning. So I don't love, you see what it did there? Now I get it. What it's really doing is it goes to the end, and if I hit next again, it takes me back. It actually submits those survey results and takes me back to the beginning. That's another thing I don't love. I think at the end, I want it to say, like, thank you for your feedback. So I'll have it do that as well once it finishes this one. Okay, so it went ahead and made that change I asked for. I'm going to go ahead and ask it to make the one other change about the cycling from beginning to end. Notice that on the last page, if I hit next on the final page of the survey, it submits the results and then sends me back to the first page. Doesn't feel like a great interaction. I'd rather that button on the last page say submit results and then give them a message in the browser that says thank you for taking that your feedback is appreciated. So if you go ahead and make that change, I think we'll be good to go. All right, so it has finished the last change that I really feel like I want to make for this demo. So you're getting an idea of how it works, right? You can ask this tool to build an application, it will build something, and then you'll kind of tweak it as you want as you go. And then once it's in a place that you like it, you can start to publish it. I want to show you a couple of the things that the tool does. The first thing is I want to show you the code view. So when I click this toggle button up here, it actually shows the raw code that it's creating for this application. You don't have to view it. You don't even have to necessarily care that it's there, but you should know that like the backing store for this, there's real code under it. It's not faking interactions with the user. It's real code that you can deploy. If I wanted to make sure that code were saved and that I wanted to share it with other people, I could connect GitHub. And I would do that by clicking on this little icon here, and it'll bring up this sign and this dialog, and we just say connect it. I already have an account for Renew Work, so I'll go ahead and just connect it here. And magically, boom, connected to GitHub, and it's checking in the code. I could give this URL to my developer friends, and they could suck this code down and start modifying it and even checking it in if they wanted to. Right. So again, this is a really important feature. This isn't just about you want to be able to version control your toy that you're building. Because it integrates with GitHub, all of a sudden it becomes a much more capable tool for software discovery and delivery together. So I've connected it. Okay, so now that we've connected to GitHub, we want to connect it to a database, and that can maybe sound intimidating, but all we're really going to do is essentially use this little green icon in the top called Supabase. And what this will let us do is when people enter the survey information into the survey and they hit submit at the end, it will save the results in a database so that they're there forever, right? If we were to leave it like it is today, this form, it would save the results while I have the web page up. But once the web page goes away, all the data goes away and you have to start over entering data again. If I want to have people use this, so I'm going to actually need to save the data in a database. And like I say, it doesn't need to be intimidating because it's no more really than creating a project in a tool. So if the word database is intimidating you, just don't worry about it. We can use a different word for that. So what I've done is I asked Lovable, hey, the app is going well. How do I make sure I save this somewhere in a database like Supabase? Supabase is the tool that is integrated most easily with Lovable. And it basically just says, hey, go to the green button and create a project, and that'll get us started. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to click on the green button. I'm going to say connect to Supabase. I'm going to say connect to project, and I'm going to create a new project for this one. So I'm going to give it a project name, YouTube video survey response. We will have it create a password for us so that it's a really good one. and I'll keep that so that I don't forget about it. And then we just say create new project. And so this is it. So now we have a database that it's going to be able to connect to. Now, one thing you have to watch is when you first create a database project like this, it'll have these little statuses where you need to wait for this to finish being set up. You don't have to do anything. You just let it happen. And once it's done, it'll be connected and we'll move forward. All right, it looks like it finished setting up the database here. So we see the screen. You don't have to, actually, the project status is still pending. So we want to wait until this little icon goes away. Okay, you may have noticed the project status turned green. That should give us what we need. Go over here and connect this product, connect to the project, and you'll notice when I open this up, this one is clickable, YouTube survey results. So we'll click that one, and it connects everything. Survey's connected. And so basically it says, hey, check the chat. So we're going to close this. We're going to come over here and we're going to say, all right, what do we need to do? So basically it says you can do some other things with Supabase. You could set up accounts and let people log in. We're not going to do that today. But you'll be able to store real data. What's next? Just keep building, right? So it's done all the work for you. And it's there. So if you were to add new form fields, it would update your database to be able to save those things. If you wanted to add user login, it would use the database to save the users who are allowed to get in. Is when you're done, you can make this a full live application on the webs, on the internets. Technically, it's even live right now. It has kind of like an interesting, strange URL, but if you wanted to save this, you could do it. So here's what I'm going to do, though. I'm going to publish this to this URL. When I click this button, the current state of what you're seeing on the screen here will end up on that website. And exciting, right? You just shipped a product, which is pretty great. I could copy this link. It's a little bit of a weird link though. So I want to show you one other thing that it can do. You can use custom domains with Lovable. So I have a website, a domain that I have a website published to, so I can actually connect my domain. So in this particular case, I'm just going to say, what domain? renewwork.now. But I actually want to use a subdomain. I don't want to publish it directly to renewwork.now, so I want to call it YouTube survey, ytsurvey.renewwork.now. And so I'm going to hit continue here. All right, so I entered in my credentials essentially, and that's really all I had to do. And then it just says, hey, it's configured. And so now I could give people this URL, which is a little more friendly and easier to see that it's associated with my domain. And so basically I'm done. And so from now on, every change I ask it to make, it will save it automatically to GitHub. And when I'm ready to publish it, it will publish it to my own domain. And so that will be live updated just by clicking update. And that's all there is to it. I'm going to end the demonstration here. I think this gives you at least a taste of what's possible. It's a lot more powerful than what I've shown. You can build some much more complicated apps, and I've done that, which maybe I'll show you one day. But what I want you to get excited about is two things. First off is these tools are very good today, and they're able to build real things that you can really use today. So that's the first thing. And hopefully a sub item there is that it's easy enough you can do. You don't have to have a coding background. You can jump in and build things today, be creative. And maybe the more important thing is that these tools are integrated with things that we use in developing real products for real users. And because they're integrated in that way, we can start to flip the script on how we do product discovery and product delivery. And there's a lot of things that we could do. I've seen people experimenting with a lot of different things, but I want to even give you some ideas, right? So requirements may be much less important going forward, right? If you spend a lot of time in your world sketching screens and typing out long requirements documents or PRDs, I'm not saying you won't need them, but what you might put in them might change quite a bit, given you could actually just build a prototype, because you can also connect it to Figma if you really want that kind of control over your screens, which a lot of us would. You can do that. But what it does is it really starts to free you from needing developers to make something real and to really experience it and feel it. And then think of what you could do with that. If you could sketch out a design on a napkin in the morning, you could feed it into one of these tools, and by the afternoon, you could be live editing it with your product marketing team and your user experience group and your developers, and everybody would be starting to align on, oh, what is this thing and how does it work, and the corner cases that you might not think of when you're just writing it out by hand in a Word document, all of those things. And then by the end of the afternoon, you could be testing this with a real user to get feedback. And think of it, you could make multiple of these. So you make one, it's actually really easy to come in here to settings. Let me show you how to do this. You come into settings and you can go down and remix this project. Essentially, it makes a copy, but it's a copy that you can then edit. You could make 10 versions of these in an hour, right? Once you get a base, you could create another one and you could say, hey, change it like this. Hey, change it like that. You could publish every one of those and you could test different designs with different people. All sorts of opportunities start to open with this. So I hope this encourages you to give it a try. If you're interested in more information, I have workshops available. So if you want to come and learn how to do this in your own world, we can do a project that makes sense to you and give you some hands-on experience. If you're interested in your team learning more about this, I'd be glad to set up a custom workshop or a custom conversation or engagement with you to introduce your team to this kind of work. And more than that, more than just introducing you, help you really authentically use it in your real development and discovery processes. So I hope this was fun. I hope it opened your eyes to some things. And if this is something that's maybe not new to you, but people on your team maybe would enjoy knowing about it, forward them the video. And by all means, go take the survey. I'd love to hear your feedback on the video itself. I'll put the link to the survey below the video. So thanks, everybody.